Good evening. Welcome to the forum for the candidates running for the Traverse City Area Public Schools Board of Education. This event is sponsored by the League of Women Voters, Grand Traverse Area, and it's hosted by the Traverse Area Community Media. I am League member Jean Howard. I will be moderating the program this evening. First, a note. This recording is the property of the League of Women Voters, Grand Traverse Area. It cannot be used for campaign purposes or any other use without the express written consent of the League of Women Voters. Because this event is being recorded, it's live on channel 189. It is also on 2 different Facebook pages. So please help us with maintaining the integrity of our event. The League of Women Voters is a national nonpartisan organization. We do not endorse or oppose candidates or parties. The League does work to obtain and distribute information to the public about all candidates and their views. The League promotes the informed and active participation of all citizens in government. Our program today is being shown on Spectrum Cable Channel 189, the Traverse Area Community Media Facebook page, and the League of Women Voters Grand Traverse Area Facebook page. So we will be beginning in a bit with a 1-minute statement, opening statement from each candidate, followed by questions from the audience. Each candidate will have 45 seconds to answer the question. A timer has cards, and she will be holding them up when your time is up, and when that red stop sign comes up, I can see it too, and I will politely say, cut you off. So we will close the forum then also with 1-minute closing statements from each candidate. If you have a question for the candidates, please write it on the card provided, give it to one of the runners at the end of the aisles. Questions are collected and reviewed by our screeners who are sitting over here for relevance, propriety, clarity, and legibility. I have to be able to read it, please. If you need a second card, you have another question, simply raise your hand and the runner will bring you another card. And we may not have time to ask all the questions that are submitted, but we do collect them and then we send them to all the candidates after the forum so you know what this audience has interest in. If you cannot hear a candidate, please raise your hand and we'll make sure they're speaking into the microphones. If you are watching this live on Facebook, you can submit questions for our candidates during the presentation in the comment section of Facebook. There will be no oral questions from the audience. In the interest of promoting civil discourse, we ask that you show respect for all the candidates by refraining from cheering, booing, or applauding. If you cannot hear a candidate, again, raise your hand and we'll remind them to speak more directly into the microphone. But before I introduce the candidates, one last housekeeping item. Please make sure your cell phones are all turned off. Okay, there are 8 candidates running for the 4 open seats on the TCAPS board. 7 who are with us this evening. We have Holly Bird, Matthew Hanley, Erica Moore, Beth Pack, Andrew Raymond, Nicholas Roster, and Justin Van Reenen. The 8th candidate, Miston Boyson, is not able to be with us this evening due to a family commitment. We will begin the opening statements by going in alphabetical order, And with each question, we will move down the line so every candidate has an opportunity to answer a question first. Now, I have my grid up here, my chart, and if something happens and you're missed, please raise your hand and let me know, because there's a lot of things to keep track of. So let's start with our opening statements. Holly.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Holly Bird. It's my honor and pleasure to be here tonight. I think the reason that I came here and wanted to run for school board is because I have a huge interest and a vested interest in the future of our educational system. I have 3 children in our educational system, one who's set to begin 9th grade this coming year and who you might see running around here. I think that with the beauty of this area and the wonderful people we have here, we have the opportunity to make our education system one of the best in the world, and I want to help do that.
Thank you, Holly. Matthew?
Hi, I'm Matt Hanley. Excuse me. I grew up in Traverse City. I think my wife grew up here. She's a teacher here. My children go here. TCAPS was foundational to me, and I'm just at the beginning of my young children, and think that I want to help them, help improve the school system as any way possible, and so that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica?
My name's Erica Moon-Moore. I am currently serving on the TCAPS school board. I'm a third generation local Traverse City person. Both my mom and my grandparents are from here. My 2 children go to TCAPS, so I have a 9th grader and a 10th grader who both go to West Senior High School. I'm a business owner. I work for Real Estate One, but I run my own business as a community member. And I'm also a graduate of TCAPS. So the 3 concerns, are we addressing the 3 concerns that you let us in?
Whatever you want to say in your opening statement.
Okay, so 3 concerns that I feel TCAPS faces. 1 is student enrollment. 2 is teacher and staff shortages, and 3 is the lack of equal funding compared to other districts in the state of Michigan. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth?
Hello, my name is Beth Pack, and I thought I would start with why I'm running. I'm older, so I probably have more to say otherwise. My first focus is actually on the basics for which we have public schools, and that is reading, writing, science, logic, history, and I think that we need fundamental commitment to that. I believe that there's a great deal of individual and community utility in those things. The second reason is I believe that there should be a good rapport between parents and teachers. I think there should be a lot of collaboration and trust. Third, I believe equally that there should be a rapport between TCAPS and the community, especially in light of the possibility of another bond being floated. We need each other, but we need to be clear on why. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yep, good evening. I'm Andrew Raymond. First, thank you very much to the League of Women Voters and for everyone being here tonight. It's very important to be educated and informed when making this decision. So nearly 2 years ago, I was very humbled to be appointed to a vacated board seat, and I currently serve as the board treasurer. I also have 2 young daughters, a kindergartner and a 3rd grader in the district. So in my professional capacity, I'm the chief financial officer at the hospital in Kalkaska. And so I think that having that position, being responsible for financial oversight of a large organization, lends itself to having a lot of strengths at the board table and being fiscally responsible and financially understanding what's going on in the district. So being a board member is challenging, and it's a 100% volunteer role. So I'm seeking another term because I think that we need leaders that come to the board table without agenda, that listen to all sides and make the best decisions possible for our students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick?
Hey, I'm Nicholas Roster. I teach at NMC. I have 2 boys in TCAPS, 10th and 8th grade. It's going so fast. I have a PhD, and my PhD research was in education. So I feel like I bring something special to the table. My wife is also an administrative assistant at Westwoods Elementary. So I understand, I'm an active teacher, I understand the classroom. I also understand support personnel through my wife, and how important the entire package is. So I'm running because I think it's important to have that kind of support on the board for our educators and our staff people. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin?
Hello, my name is Justin Van Reenen. I'm a father of a 4th grader here in TCAPS. I'm a volunteer wrestling coach for Traverse City West, and I'm an employee of a local business. I've been active within the board for the last 3 years, encouraging transparency, good governance, and fiscal responsibility. I'm running for the TCAPS school board to be able to strengthen our schools by supporting our teachers, protecting our children, and listening to our community. TCAPS has many treasures, and like many treasures, you must protect that treasure. TCAPS' #1 treasure is our staff. The district needs to be thinking outside of the box when it comes to recruitment and retention. That includes a line-by-line audit of our budget by trimming the fat, increasing teacher pay that incentivizes retention and continuing education, using our fund balance to our advantage, and bringing down class sizes. Second, the protection of our students is paramount, not just physically, but also mentally. Since the pandemic, any sort of educational gaps that existed have now been even stretched wider, increasing anxiety and depression. And lastly, fully funding school security needs to be a priority.
Thank you, Justin. All right, our first question, and Matt, we'll be starting with you. What do you view as priority spending for the district moving forward?
I think after the last 2 years and even the results from our strategic plan and from teachers that I've talked with, I think trying to focus on student well-being and mental health and making sure their basic needs met are important. I think this is an area where there could be some synergies. I think, one, children need to be have their needs met to be prepared to learn, and 2, I think teachers will be able to spend more time focus on teaching rather than behavior issues. So I think that is a synergistic priority that I have.
Thank you. Erica?
Same question?
Same question, and if anybody needs to have the question repeated, please just ask me.
Will you repeat the question?
Yeah. What do you view as priority spending for the district moving forward?
So one piece of priority spending would be to focus on the mental health of our kids. We are facing some catastrophic numbers with our kids, and so hiring social workers, counselors is imperative to keeping our kids healthy. Second, we spent in the last year $450,000 on curriculum, and I would continue to focus fiscally on curriculum spending. Prior to 3 years, we were focusing more on our infrastructures and our budgets versus focusing on curriculum, focusing on teaching and learning for our kids. So I think those 2 areas would be the priorities for.
Thank you. Beth, same question.
Hi. I talked to Dr. Van Wagner briefly, and I asked him what percentage of the budget he considered discretionary and what percent he considered fixed. And he told me that he thought 90% of the budget is a fixed budget, and that includes salaries being a bulk of it. I agree with Eric. I think that mental health is a big part. I think that school safety, physical plant is going to be important. curriculum is hopefully in the consideration of fixed budget. And I think figuring out how the budget's laid out currently will be a large part of my job at the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to come at this at a little different angle. So Michigan Department of Education puts out a bulletin 1014 that talks about financial information by district. So just for comparison, TCAPS is the 18th largest district in the state in terms of student population. Unfortunately, we're ranked 575th out of 821 school districts in the state in terms of total funding. So that dichotomy and that gap is really why we need to be super conservative and diligent with our funds that we have. So I would obviously emphasize recruitment, staff recruitment and retention, curriculum, and mental health. And then, obviously we have to have a place to have schools. So lastly would be facilities.
Thank you. Nick?
My focus is on the classroom. We have to make sure that teachers and staff have what they need to create an environment where students feel safe, where students feel that they belong. And when that happens, then students are ready to learn. If we don't have those things to begin with, then students wouldn't be ready to learn. So I'd like to focus on those aspects. So mental health is always an issue. I have been on curriculum committees. I feel that curriculum is incredibly important as well. And we need just to make sure that our schools have what they need to be the best that they can be.
Thank you, Nick. Justin?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of themes tonight when it comes to looking at mental health, and I think that starts with the school district being able to help support the community when it comes to mental health. Having a fourth grade daughter and she's going through these changes and she's going through all these new things when it comes to being in school and the social side of stuff. And my daughter's also adopted, and so there's a lot of our families and TCAPS bring a lot of different perspectives and all come at on how they come together within our schools differently. And so I think, as Dr. Van Wegner's been trying to get with social workers, I think we need to get social workers in our schools, but really be focusing on mental health and helping our community be able to move forward with mental health as well.
Thank you. Beth, do you need the question repeated?
Oh, Holly?
Holly?
Yes, no,
I'm sorry.
I'm okay, thank you.
We already did it. Fire me, huh? Yeah.
So I agree with Andrew in many respects. He mentioned the disparate funding that we have up here compared to other school districts. And a lot of that's based on enrollment, right? How many children we have, which again goes back to the question of, are we retaining good staff and good programming? So I think a lot of focus does need to go on to recruiting and retaining good teachers, making sure they're comfortable and happy and able to teach well, right? Instead of, as we said, taking care of behavioral issues or struggling in their classrooms. And then from there, I think that'll help us to also focus in on what the children need as far as curriculum and mental health.
Thank you. Next question, and Erica, you will go first. How would you address differences of opinion on the board or between the board, administration, and parents? So any differences of opinion on the board or between the board, administration, and parents?
I think the greatest tool would be communication. I think opening up, open dialogue. I have had differences with parents on the board, and I think sitting down and having those conversations so there's an understanding of where different opinions come from. Same thing with the administration. I think having an open communication, no surprises, explaining my position and maybe learning from others to try to have a better understanding together. So I think communication is key. I think openness is key. No surprises, and support various opinions, it's okay to disagree. A diverse board is a good thing. Different opinion is good. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth?
Well, it would probably depend on what we were disagreeing about. That might be a factor. But I do think you do try to come to some understanding. And I agree that communication and how you arrive at communication is always different every time. I tend to be respectful. I tend to be honest, simply because I find that's the easiest way to go forward. And I tend not to have an agenda of I've got you. I don't need to win. I need to be as correct as possible. And that's kind of where I would stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's important, I think, that the board acts in a professional and level-headed way. And I think that, at least the 2 years that I've been on the board, we've done a really good job of that, even though there potentially may have been disagreements. So I think that I would obviously continue to do that. As far as communicating with, our constituents and the public, just being open, being available, being approachable. I think that I've done a really good job of doing that, being responsive. We're always available, even though we are a volunteer board. And so I think that, that would obviously continue if I were to be reelected.
Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, I think listening is the first step to good communication, and then transparency, making decisions out in the open, listening to all sides. There's always going to be disagreements, but when you're on a board, if there's disagreements, when the board makes a decision, that's the decision of the board, and you support that as best that you can. So it doesn't matter if I disagree, if we all make decisions out in the open, then it's transparent. You may not like the decision, but at least you've seen the process and you understand why that decision was made. And I think that's probably the most important thing.
Thank you. Justin?
Yeah, one thing that in my house we like that we talk about making sure that when we have arguments and differences and a difference of opinion that we all talk about it. And I think the biggest thing is that when we have differences is that our students in our district are watching us and that they should be able to see us be able to have those differences, but at the same time be able to see us come to a resolution that we at the end of the day can then vote on, whatever that decision is, move forward with being able to complete and push forward that decision as hard as we can.
Thank you. Holly?
Hi, so as a judge, a mediator, a peacemaker, an attorney, and someone who's been on many boards, I'm no stranger to adverse conversations and certainly differences of opinion. And what I've found is most effective is when I lean on my deep alternative dispute resolution training. For me, it's modeling respect. So I'm gonna treat everybody respectfully. I think everybody deserves a voice. Everybody deserves to be heard. And I think that goes a long way to creating that atmosphere of civil discourse.
Thank you. And Matt?
Well, there's not much to add to all that. I've been a parent, and I've sent my emails to the board, and I think they've done a pretty good job of responding, and having that two-way communication has helped me and helped understand, and it is difficult to understand everyone's individual decision, but having those conversations I think has improved that, and they continue to. So I would just say that we first seek to try to understand someone, and then to try for them to understand you.
Thank you. All right, our next question. Public schools serve a diverse population. How important is it to you or for you to support the principle of intellectual freedom and student rights to read in our schools? And that is to Beth.
That's to me.
You want me to?
think I understand that. What you're asking is how well I respect diversity across the student population?
It's diversity, this is, I believe, okay? I can add, based on how it's written, that they're looking at a diverse population and how do you service that diverse population within the reading materials that are available in our schools.
Okay.
Okay, is that-
I think, again, it's going to be, I'd need specifics, of course, but you're open to consider everything. I actually talked to my daughter recently about that, and I said, you know, Lauren, do you think that you were able to read widely? Do you ever feel that I denied a book to you or information to you? And she stopped and thought, and she said, you know, actually, I read anything I wanted to, Mom. I said, and didn't you feel comfortable doing that? You didn't hide any. And she said, no, I didn't. And I would try to take a similar approach with other
Thank you.
students.
Andrew?
Yeah, I think I understand the question as well. So I mean, we serve a public school system with a diverse student body, and I think that everyone in the school system needs to have books that they can see themselves in, and that those books reflect their own identities. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's a wide range of books, and that should be available to our students.
Thank you. Nick?
Well, from what I'm getting from the question is it's asking about book banning. No, book banning doesn't work. I read banned books because they were banned. And we read those books because we find ourselves in those books. And I think it's important for students to know that they're not alone, that those books are out there and other people have those same, pardon me, wow, that's pretty powerful stuff, those same experiences that they have or that they're trying to go through. So I think that's really important to have those materials available to all students.
Thank you. Justin?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Book banning, I was in Germany about 15 years ago, and we were standing in this circle where the Nazis came in and started burning books out of all the libraries. And it was on this college campus, and I remember thinking to myself, why would we not want to learn? Why would we not want to learn from our past? And so I think when it comes to school libraries and it comes to the reading materials, they need to be able to, like I said, see themselves. They also need to be able to see the struggles of other people. They need to be able to see their past, and they also need to be able to know how to use that past to strengthen their future. And banning books does not accomplish that one bit.
Thank you. Holly?
Diversity is the key to a well-rounded education. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind about that. And representation matters in that diversity. Books that are full of that information and represent the people that represent the diversity in our systems make it a welcoming place, and they also help teach us about other people. Freedom of information is the benchmark of learning. So I'm all for that, and I also support the very good professionals that our librarians are. They're on beat with the kids.
Thank you. Matt?
I have to agree. My first 2 years of college, I went to a great book school, learning the foundations of Western civilization. So you're not going to necessarily find me with any interest in banning or suppressing books, but I also think, like Ms. Bird said, I mean, this is the librarians can make a choice and figure out what's best for their individual students to explore and learn about, have diverse experiences and continue learning. So.
Thank you, Matt. Erica?
Yes, everyone has said wonderful things. I think education in and of itself teaches kids to think critically, and I think, like it was already stated, when you're reading about other people's struggles, I think Justin said this, it allows you to feel empathy and work with other kids that maybe come from other places. You know, every student deserves to look into the book and see themselves. If it's the color of their skin, if it's from where they come from socioeconomically, if it's how they identify themselves. And I think libraries are a beautiful thing to open up that door for kids to be able to explore that. And I just feel the same way about banned books, that kids are gonna read them. If they're banned, there's no reason to ban them in a public school system, so.
Thank you. On to the next question. Senate Bill 1093 would allow public schools to utilize taxpayer resources in assisting a labor organization in collecting dues from its workers. School districts could collect dues for the MEA. Do you support this legislation? Why or why not? And it's Andrew. No, but
And I don't quite, meaning like
I'm reading it.
forced dues? Because we have teachers unions, so I'm not sure what, I don't have any background knowledge on what that bill is, so I apologize. But I mean, if it's meaning that we would force teachers to be union members or force union members, I'm not sure.
Will you
This
reread
is a right-to-work state.
I work at NMC. At NMC, we are allowed, the union can have our dues deducted from our paycheck. If you choose to join the union, and you don't have to join the union, you can just do a check, and your dues are automatically deducted from your paycheck, and you don't have to think about it. However, I don't know when it was, but the state legislature, to basically punish K-12 teachers union, said that, you can't do that in a K-12 school. If you want to join the union, you have to pay your check directly to the union. You cannot have your paycheck deducted. And I think that's what they're talking about. It is basically a punitive measure, and this question asks, would you support doing that to her?
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay, I know nothing about the bill either, so.
Yeah, I mean, to
And
me,
that was
that's
an
a
honest answer.
convenience factor. I
so-
think we should.
So essentially, would you allow the school district to take the dues out of a paycheck for the teachers' union if the teacher so choose to have it done that way? And it says why or why not.
So we're still answering the question?
No,
Yes.
So,
Okay, I can answer the question, sure. So obviously, I wouldn't want the district to do anything that's illegal. So if it's currently illegal to do that, then I don't think that we should be doing that. If your question is, should we be in favor of undoing that, I think that there's no reason that seems like a, unnecessarily punitive rule to have. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't offer that convenience. So I'm not sure why that state bill exists.
and who knows if the bill will pass, right? Nick?
Yeah, so if I understand it correctly, yeah, if the state bill passes, then schools are allowed to do this. It's just another payroll deduction. So, yeah, I support it. Why do I support it? I'm a union member. My wife's a union member. In fact, she's the president of the TCAPS. So I have a vested interest in unions anyway. I find it beneficial to have them, and it allows us to have those conversations that are necessary. So I would support a payroll deduction if the employee so chooses to have it.
Thank you. Justin?
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure, like, as far as why the state would want to impose something like that, punishing anybody through legislation seems odd. But apparently we do it in this country. So, I mean, I think if we can make things easier for our teachers, they got enough to worry about. One more box to check to be able to take out their union dues should be fairly simple so they can get into the classroom faster.
Thank you. Holly?
I'm 100% in support of that. I almost don't even understand the question, right? If teachers want to have that deduction from their pay, then they should be able to do that. I would even support the expansion of a line item to do that in the budget.
Matt?
I would support that too. I mean, I think at this point, the legislature taking away that option just has made it harder for teachers. I know my wife's dues get charged by credit card every month, and it's just one more hurdle that if you need a new credit card, now it's one more thing a teacher has to do that is nothing more than really a waste of time. I mean, I guess they've made their point. If teachers didn't want to join the union, they can still do that, and they have the freedom of choice, but it just seems like an unnecessary hurdle.
Thank you. Erica?
Yes, I don't understand this bill, so it's hard to speak directly toward it, but I would agree. I would think to leave it up to the individual unions as to if they want to have an automatic deduction, or the individual union groups if they want to have a deduction. I don't think it should be a state mandate, so I would absolutely support it. And, you know, again, I don't know that much about this bill, so it's hard to talk about, but thank you.
Beth?
I would want to see the bill. I'd want to know why it was written. I have no clue what the impetus is for it or against it. I think that if the electric power company came and said, you know, why don't you just deduct your light bill from your, how much extra deduction do you really want to make the responsibility of the payroll department and within the school system? So I guess until I knew something, I wouldn't have an opinion one way or another. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you give us that Senate bill number again? I want to research that when I get home.
Sure can.
Isn't
It
that
was 1093.
1093, thank you.
Are you ready for the next question? Nick?
No.
Oh, you guys all sound like school board members already. Please explain and define equity versus equality, and how each definition is directly related to public education.
That's a hard one. Equity is making sure everyone has access. Equality, I'm trying to think of the example with the boxes and looking over the fence, right? Equality is making sure everyone has the same box, right? It doesn't matter how tall you are. Everyone has the same box. And if I'm still short, I still can't see over the fence, but it's all equal. Equity is making sure everyone can see over the fence. So you give the short kid 2 boxes so they can see over the fence. That's the difference between those two. Equity is incredibly important. I'm equity grading all the way, so.
Thank you. Sometimes it's tough to be the first one, isn't it? Justin?
Nailed it, Nick.
So I'm going to use his definition so I can use the rest of my time. And how it relates to public education. Being able to give, I've said that public education is kind of the equalizer within your community. And if you can't secure opportunity for children to be able to learn and participate, we fail as a school district. And so as far as when it we have different programs within our school district that I would love for us to be able to look at this equity and this equality side of things, the TAG program being one of them. But I think our students deserve to be able to have all opportunities for them to make them successful in the future.
Thank you. Holly?
Hi, Thank you. The concept of equity has been in our school system for many, many years. And most people don't realize that because it's become this tag word for something different. You need to necessarily have equity to have equality in education. The best example I can give of that is putting handicap accessible bathrooms in each bathroom for handicapped students. That's a form of equity. We're making it so that they can equally use the bathroom like everybody else can. So when we talk about the box example as well, I always like to point out that the boxes are a good thing, but really you want the ground, which is firmer, to actually be on the same level for all of them to make them equal.
Thank you. Matt?
There's not much to add to that, but I mean, I think I would just go back to my emphasis on creating equity. It's going to take more than just having public education. I think we have 9,000 some children, and they all have their own issues that we can help with. But like I said from the beginning, there's, students with rural poverty or mental health issues, and to get to equity, those need to be addressed.
Thank you. Erica?
Yeah, well said. The box analogy with the fence is a good visual. Something else to add to it is when you talk about equity, there's some kids that don't have shoes to get to school. So how are you going to be able to learn unless you have shoes to get to school, or a meal for breakfast, or a meal for lunch? 40% of our kids are free and reduced meals. 3 of our buildings have over 90% of the kids are free and reduced meals, and we have over 300 homeless students. So if you want to talk about that equity, it's getting the kids the shoes, the food, so that when they get into math and English language arts, they are ready to learn, just like the kid that came from, the big house across the street. So that to me is what equity is for our kids.
Thank you. Beth?
I'm having a difficult time answering some of these questions in 45 seconds. And I think with equity, equality, that's another one that I would be very hard-pressed with 45 seconds. I think that sometimes when you get very much into the social programs, which you need in a lot of the kids, and I asked Dr. Van Wagner how many homeless kids we have, and there's 246 at current count, from what I understand. There are some kids who are going to need an awful lot of social support. There are other kids that what they need is the academic opportunity. And you can't hold one back to make sure you have the other. And I'm sorry, I'm out of my 45 seconds.
Thank
But it's
you.
a big one, and it's important.
Andrew?
Yeah, so the notes that I took. So equality to me is everyone gets to go to school, right? Everyone gets to go. But unfortunately, not everyone is unique, and so everyone needs different attentions so that they can reach their fullest potential for whatever that is for that individual. For some people, like Erica said, they need food, clothing, and shelter. Unfortunately, and that's just how it is. And other students, they are so bright that they are bored in their classes, and they need to be pushed to excel to a higher level. And so it goes both ways. And yeah, that's kind of how I would break it down, is that we have a unique group of students, and they all need a unique, diverse attention towards them.
Thank you. A new question. Justin? Do you have concerns about the number of students leaving TCAPS? If so, what should be done to reverse the trend?
So yes, I am concerned. I believe this is also a statewide issue as well. And so to say that it's a particular TCAPS issue, I wouldn't agree with. We have seen students leave over the last few years. If you look at our enrollment numbers, they have come down over the last 5 to 10 years. And as far as my concern for that and how do we retain them, that really comes back to parents, and it allows for us to be able to have dialogue with parents to allow for opportunities for their students. Yeah, transparency as a district goes a long way to accomplish both of those.
Thank you. Holly?
So yes, that's a concern for me. As we mentioned before, funding for districts is based on the enrollment that you have. So again, going back to that issue of teacher retention and excellent programming, I think that's what we need. We live in this beautiful spot. I mean, who would want to absolutely leave here, right? So I think that we have so much that we can offer, and it's really up to us to accommodate what's happened in our nation, what's happened with our funding, what's happened with state policy, et cetera, and also the students and their families. And as much as we can do that in a way to serve them, the better.
Thank you. Matt?
Yeah, this is unfortunately a problem maybe that I don't know how the school board itself can solve it. I mean, if you look at housing prices in town or in the surrounding area, I think people have to leave because the jobs aren't there to support, for that to economically make sense. I don't know if TCAPS on its own can resolve that, but it's something that as a region and a larger community that we can, I think, work towards a solution together.
Thank you. Erica?
A lot of what has been said, but yes, we are seeing the housing prices make it difficult for young families. Birth rates are down, and yes, it's one of my 3 biggest concerns regarding TCAPS. However, when we look at other schools in our area outside of TCAPS, we have to really celebrate what we're doing that others aren't. We offer advanced placement. Other schools don't. We offer dual enrollment. We offer early college early college. We offer preschool or junior kindergarten, exchange programs. We have a award-winning music and performing arts program. Like, we have to celebrate and set ourselves apart from the other schools. We have Simatech, robotics. Other schools in the area don't have that. So I think
Thank you,
we need
Erica.
to do better about celebrating that.
Beth?
Thank you.
Hi, it's going to be a complex issue, and I'm an advocate, a very strong advocate for public education. I actually moved from one state to another because of public education in those 2 states. I don't think you can do everything for everybody. I think that we do a lot of things very well here with TCAPS, and they should be celebrated, they should be acknowledged. But there's maybe that middle group, that 60% that aren't doing all those extra things, and they may be feeling left out while you're so busy attending one section and another section. It's hard to do everything, but what you have to do is some basic things consistently across the whole group. Thank you.
Andrew?
Yeah, so a lot of the things that have already been said, but one of the things that I'll highlight is, and I'm very proud of the strategic planning plan that we approved over the summer and the process that went into that. And one of the items on there is to engage and collaborate with the community. And this is one of those things, I think, like Matt said, that isn't just a school district issue. You can go to any restaurant, you can go to the hospital, you can go to the grocery store. Everyone needs help up here, and it's really hard to find affordable housing. We have jobs that are available, and we need families to move to the area, and we need to retain those families. So yeah, working with other community organizations is huge, and I know that we've started that process from a school board, not a school board, but a school leadership aspect. And then, like Erica said, just highlighting what separates us from other school districts in the area.
Thank you, Nick. Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you, Andrew. Nick.
Close enough. We're all up here.
I thought I'd give you a break, Nick. Anyway, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Obviously, it's a complex problem, and time might need to be spent on finding out why students are leaving. There's a number of reasons why. Are they leaving the district? Are they going to another school within the district? So that's one thing. Coming from higher ed, we're always concerned about enrollment. And sometimes the demographics tells us enrollment's going to go down. What are you going to do now? I think we need to spend some time looking at TCAPS celebrating what we do, celebrating what TCAPS does. And TCAPS is not the only choice in the district, but TCAPS needs to be the best choice in the district. And I think that we can do that. I think that it's really easy to show that TCAPS is the best choice in the district.
Thank you. Okay, Holly, you are going first on this next question. Will there be opportunities for innovations which will aid teaching fundamentals and support teachers in moving forward?
That's a pretty broad question, but I love it. I think it's a great idea, and I would support that. I think teachers have a lot of good ideas about how to do that, and so I think as part of the strategic plan, there's a point in there for that, which is to engage teachers in creating those programs and curriculums, and I think they are our best resources in that regard. So I would love to support them to do that.
Thank you. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I really have to, the teachers are taking, whenever we have, tomorrow, we have a shortened day. I mean, teachers throughout the year are working together to collaborate on how to improve curriculum. I mean, if that's going to be expanded upon, I think that's part of the negotiations they have to have with the administration and to make that a priority.
Thank you. Erica?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure will.
Thank you.
Will there be opportunities for innovations which will aid teaching fundamentals and support teachers in moving forward?
It's a great question. I think our current leader, Dr. Van Wagner, has tried to look outside of the box. We, as a school board and some teachers and some administrative leaders, went to a school in Wisconsin called Kettle Moraine, which is very forward-thinking in how their high schools are set up. Also recently, we are going to the League of Innovative Schools, which is only 2 schools in Michigan are a part of this. It's a pretty phenomenal thing. So our leadership is trying to think outside of the box and hopefully to empower our teachers to be able to teach differently. Education has changed, and so we need to embrace that change. So,
Thank you.
big
Yeah.
question.
Okay, I recently was talking to my nephew who was looking at his daughter's math homework. And he said to her, "Explain to me how you got this." She said, "Well, Dad, this is the way you do it." And he said, "Well, let me show you how I learned how to do it." And he came up with the answer, and it was very clear how he came up with the answer. And Anna said to him, "Well, Dad, I can't turn that in because it's not how I was taught. The right answer was not the answer. What I had to do was a certain method." What I'm saying is that a lot of times teachers are told how to teach, and I think sometimes you have to be innovative on a one-on-one. I'm a nurse, critical care nurse. We treated every patient according to what went on there. I couldn't do it totally by an algorithm. 15 seconds, I'm just no good.
Andrew?
Yeah, so I will very humbly admit that I am not an expert on teaching, and I think everyone up here, except for probably Nick, would probably say the same thing. So, the board's role is to support the district, and as Erica mentioned, she stole my thunder. We have, so our superintendent has taken trips to and is thinking outside of the box to look at other districts on how they're working, and we are in the League of Innovative Schools. And we should always be looking for ways to improve on things that we do. So again, I'm not the expert, and it's not the board's role to look for these items. We should be supporting our district and our leaders in the district that are the experts and do have the knowledge of how to improve the teaching of our students.
Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, I'm absolutely all about innovation in the classroom. That's what I do. It's what I appreciate that the NMC's administration allows us to do that. And I see the Board of Education being the producers, right, while the teachers are the directors. And we need to make sure that the directors have everything they need to make the movie, which is in the classroom. And so I think that's incredibly important. Innovation is incredibly important. We talk about 21st century learning skills, and we're a quarter of the way through the 21st century already. And we're still talking about how can we do this. We need to step up and take education in a progressive direction. And the only way we're going to do that is with support from the board.
Thank you. Justin?
TCAPS has some of the best teachers, probably the best teachers that I've ever seen. And they're amazing and they're smart. And many of them have many, many ideas and are experts in so many different areas within our school district. We need to let the experts in our schools fuel that innovation. Let's get all the ideas out on the table. As I talked with the TCEA, as I said, the more voices, the better. And then let's give them the tools to be able to help us all move forward and strengthen our district.
Okay, Matt, you will go first on this one. Joe Biden announced a few weeks ago that the pandemic is over. Well, now we're moving into the cold and flu season. Do you feel it is necessary to mask and/or vaccine mandate our students?
I think this is a issue that I felt very strongly about last year, last winter. Do I think I would follow the recommendations of our local physicians and health department as they were more than willing to provide an opinion, and I respected that. My own doctors were included. Other doctors that I consulted with said the same thing, and so again, I'm not a doctor, but I think we should rely on any local physician's opinion on that matter.
Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, it is flu and cold season, and I think that, you get the sniffles and you think, oh my gosh, do I have COVID? And you test for COVID, and, what I think we know of the virus is that the more it's not as deadly as it used to be. Now, I say that, and I'm not a doctor, but I do think, I agree with Matt, we have to leave it up to our medical professionals. If we get to the point in our community, in our schools, where we have, a significant amount of teachers out or our bus drivers out because of some type of a COVID spread, then I think masks work, and I think it helps. But I would leave it up to our medical professionals. I really hope, as a school board member, we don't have to make those decisions again. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Beth?
Well, I hope the virus keeps mutating more and more the direction it's going, which is becoming less and less virulent, which is very important. I'm a nurse. I'm also trained and have practiced in public health. To mask too much can put your kids' immunity system a little bit at risk. They need to be exposed to some of that. We've noticed an increase in asthma. And so, again, they're thinking that some of the kids have been perhaps too protected, and we're seeing reaction later on. So it's much more complex than whether they put you in a mask or they don't. Much more complex.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, obviously, highly divisive topic. COVID took a lot of the board's attention over the last 2 years. I think the last 8 to 10 months, we've made a lot of strides as far as gaining momentum and really focusing on school board issues. This is one of those things that, I feel like we have a public health department, and unfortunately, when we were making these decisions, last year, we didn't have any public health guidance, and that's just the facts. And so, I think that the school should listen to experts, and hopefully those experts are available if and hopefully never again these decisions have to be made again.
Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, I hate masks, but they work. I'm thinking about masking all winter so I don't get the flu. But it's a tough decision to make to mandate mask use. And those are things that, again, you need to listen to everybody. There are reasons why some people aren't getting vaccinated. There are reasons why people want to get vaccinated. Those are tough decisions. Yeah, I hope we never have to make them, but we never know what a virus is going to do. It could mutate either way, and I think we have to be ready for that possibility that we may have to go back to masking or distance learning.
Thank you. Justin? Holly?
So back to what I was saying about experts within our teachers, we have many experts in our community and medical professionals that should be able to be brought in to be able to have a conversation publicly about how we move forward together. I feel like that was the one thing that was lost during COVID, is that our health department was not willing to actually come before the board and have a public conversation about how we move forward together as a community, which caused a lot of confusion. Yeah, that's it. I got 15 seconds. I did awesome on that.
That's okay. Holly?
So I'm the daughter of my mother, who actually started what we now know as Quest Diagnostics, which is an outpatient laboratory. So I grew up masking as a child working in her laboratory. I have a deep respect for science. I have a deep respect for the experts, the medical experts. So I think, much like others here have said, we need to rely on those experts when we're asked that question. And I wish it was our health department, but we do have to rely on other people. As far as I know, and from what my doctor has told me, the virus is not over. I know 5 people that just got it and 1 who's in the hospital. So I think we should be cautious. But also, as far as vaccines, I want to treat those the same as other vaccines, where they're on the list and you can object to getting one.
Thank you. Next question. We're starting with Erica. How can you resolve the conflict between the goal of transparency in all matters and the privacy rights of all students, staff, and trustees?
Resolve the
This is a tough audience.
transparency issues. I, as a board member, feel that we are very transparent. I know that there are community members that don't think we are transparent. We get lots of FOIAs because they believe we are not being transparent. And I think I'm understanding this question correctly, so bear with me here. But, I believe, I think I'm getting kind of sidetracked, but I do believe that, you try to do the best that you can do. Again, I'm a volunteer. I have kids in the system. I only want to see TCAPS be successful. And so, yeah, I kind of missed that point. Sorry.
Thank you. Beth,
I'm going to ask you to repeat it as well, please.
how can you resolve the conflict between the goal of transparency in all matters and the privacy rights of all students, staff, and trustees?
Well, you can't. So what I would suggest is honesty is a fundamental policy across the board, that you welcome questions, you welcome information, and you share information as much as you can pertinently. HIPAA is a big thing in medicine, and that's a $100,000, $250,000 fine if you break HIPAA, and jail time, potentially. So HIPAA seems to trump transparency in that respect, but again, I think the common sense of being honest and open goes a long ways.
Thank you. Andrew?
I'm going to ask you to repeat the question, too.
So unfair.
okay.
I just gonna repeat it twice.
Now, just remember, I don't write the questions, I just read them, okay?
We're not blaming you.
How can you resolve the conflict between the goal of transparency in all matters and the privacy rights of all students, staff, and trustees?
No closed sessions.
Yeah, so I can tell you as a current trustee, there are no privacy rights for trustees except for when we're in closed session. So the board is a public board and we have to follow the Open Meetings Act. So not only that, but all of our emails are FOIAble. There's no privacy rights for trustees. Students and family. So there are laws, and like Ms. Pack said, I mean, unfortunately, there are privacy laws. So HIPAA is one of them, FERPA is one of them. So there are things that unfortunately, fortunately, however you're looking at this question, you're not going to know because they're protected by law, and that's the way it is. But yeah, trustees don't have any privacy.
Thank you. Nick?
Sometimes you're glad there's only 45 seconds
You should ask her.
to flounder. Yeah,
Reread the question.
yeah.
So glad I'm not the only one.
I'm not going to ask you to repeat the question. Transparency can only go so far as someone else's privacy. People have a right to privacy. Some of it is protected by law. You want to do as much as you can out in the open, but when you can't, you can't. And there has to be an understanding that we can't cross privacy laws. It's just the way it is.
Thank you. Justin?
Yeah, so transparency tells us how we built the road. Here's all the things that went together to be able to build the road. Here's the amount of dollars and the tools and the people and all other type of stuff. That's transparency. But sometimes when it comes to the rights that we have the right to privacy. And we do not have to give up any of that information if we don't want to. However, a school district has to. And so we want to make sure that we're constantly just, as a school district, showing everybody, bringing everybody along. That's how we move together and move forward together.
Thank you. Holly?
Thank you. So, I've had to grapple with this question many times as a judge, actually, because there are a lot of laws out there that touch staff and students that can't be breached, and those are there for a reason. But I think as a school board, we understand that we're supposed to be transparent about everything, and I completely support that, being open and transparent as much as we can. And then if for some reason we can't, because of a law, we have to say that. I can't really discuss, for example, a student's special education record, right? Because there might be a law protecting that. So you have to look at what's being protected and follow that.
Thank you. Matt?
To follow on that, I think really one of the reasons that I think Justin led the charge, but raised an eyebrow for me as an attorney was seeing the protection and appeal of the refusal to release, the prior superintendent's disciplinary memo. And, I think something like that made extremely little sense. And you have a law firm protecting the school, but really maybe not knowing what's best for the community. And I think the school board needs to weigh those factors in any future litigation as well.
Thank you. We have a lot more questions here. How late you guys want to stay? No. No, we do have time limits. Should TCAPS renovate Central Grade School? Why or why not? Beth, move on to a new subject.
Is that not the easiest one that we've gotten so far? I think that we've got consensus that it needs renovation, that it's a building that has stood well the challenges and vicissitudes of time. I have never gone to school there, but I've sung there, and the acoustics are sad, to say the best. If you've sat in the cushions, they're worse. So it's better to sing than it is to sit for the thing. So yes, you're going to have to renovate it, and yes, it's got a neighborhood. It's a neighborhood school, and yes, it will be an issue.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, first I want to touch on one thing. So just full disclosure, I was not on the board during the whole hiding or whatever that was pre me. So second, to answer the question, yeah, I mean, clearly I think we're all excited about the future of, Central Grade School. It's actually 100 years old this year. And so, I think that we're just starting that process. Hopefully there's going to be a lot of community involvement in what that actually looks like. I think that's our largest school, elementary school. And so, there's a lot of people that rely on that building, and we need to make it a 21st century building.
Nick?
Yeah, my wife was AA there for a number of years, so I know the building well. With enough time and enough money, you can do anything, and it depends on what the community wants to do. Do we want to renovate that building? It's going to be a high cost to do that. Are there other options that we could look at? Sure, there are other options. So it's going to take a lot of input from the community to know what we can do, what we want to do. We have, Lars Hockstedt is there. It's an incredibly important place for the community, but we have to do what's best for the community, not only in terms of our feelings, but also monetarily.
Justin?
So my daughter attends Central Grade School, and this year she was coming home at the beginning of the year with headaches. When the classroom gets to be almost 90 degrees and all they have are box fans to stick in the windows, and that doesn't actually really do anything, it causes physical issues for our students. And so, yes, the building needs to be addressed. The capital bond timeline that was put out will put that thing finally getting some work done in about 4 years. I feel like that's too long, and we as a community need to figure out how we can fast track that process for those students.
Holly?
Boy, do I love that old building. I think I went to Battle of the Bands there at Lars Hockstedt when I was a teenager. But,
was there too.
yeah, but I do have a nephew that attended there and nieces actually that attended there as well, and saw some of the not necessarily disrepair, but updates that are needed. I think it's about creating safety and a good learning environment. So that analysis should be the priority, is the safety of it, and what do we start with first, right? So I agree with everybody here and Nick's thoughts on it as well. It needs to be looked at carefully, and how do we do that in a safe way while keeping the beautiful character of it, and making it the best learning place it can be.
Matt?
I'm a little biased. I've never lived anywhere but Central Neighborhood, and went to that school, and my wife teaches at that school and still live there in the neighborhood. I mean, I think there's, yes, it's going to be an extremely high cost and possibly higher than a new building, but, I can't say now, but I think there's something to be said about community, having your children walk and have time and space to explore rather than being dropped off at a school. And I think that, home prices in the area show that people want a community, and I think a school is integral to that. So I'm in full support of renovation.
Thank you. Erica?
Yeah, so my mom went to Central Grade, my kids went to Central Grade. Central Grade needs some serious love. It's interesting though, because it's such Nick said, the community has got to help TCAPS to make this decision. If you look at Eastern Elementary School, they tore down a building and built a state-of-the-art elementary school for $17 million. The estimates, and this was a few years ago, the estimates to renovate Central Grade, this was from a few years ago, $25 million. That's a few years ago, so probably upwards of $35 million to renovate Central Grade. And so we need the community to come forward to support this decision to either, keep Central Grade as it is. And like you said, the walkability, the community connection, we really need to hear from community members. So I'm all in favor of renovating Central Grade.
All right, thank you. One other, next quick question here. Should online options be expanded? Should TCAPS be promoting online learning? Why or why not? And Andrew?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is a difficult one. I think that, during the pandemic, obviously, online options were all there were for a while. I do know that we have recently stopped our Up North live session option. So there's still an Up North virtual option, but just because of the number of students and families that wanted to participate in the live option, it just didn't make sense from a financial perspective. And so I think that, in my opinion, students are learn best in a face-to-face environment, especially if you have, like I did at the time, a second grader. It's next to impossible for them to learn on a computer screen.
Thank you, Nick. Justin?
I teach online. I value online education. I also teach face-to-face, and I value them both. I value face-to-face. Students are different. Some students just don't do face-to-face. I have one kid who, if I don't know he's in the house unless I say there's ice cream and he comes out of his bedroom, right? He would rather be online, but we send him. We force him to go. We said, no, you're going to school. So I think it's valuable to have those options, and I think it's valuable for parents to make those options with their kids and figure out what they want to do. I think those are, I don't know if we need to expand it, I think, but the option needs to be there.
Thank you. Justin?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that equity and equality conversation that we talked about earlier. Every student learns differently. I know when I was going to college, I needed to be in a classroom. When I finally took an online class, it was terrible. I couldn't do it. I needed to be around other people. I needed to be able to group think. I needed to be able to, that's what I needed. That's how I learn. And not every student learns that way. And for us to be able to create a structure and create a foundation to be able to allow our students to have online education, I feel like is something for us to look into and then promote it to be able to grow it as well.
Holly?
Hi, so this is part of that diversity in education that I think comes up for us. This was great during the pandemic. We had some struggles with it here and there, but some kids did do well in this. It was a good thing for some kids. I had one child in it who absolutely adored it, and the other one hated it and went to school just as quickly as possible as she could. And that was okay, right? But to counter some of that, I also believe in that diversity of options, we need to consider outdoor venues. Right? We have kids that are online all the time and on their phones. It'd be great to get them outside and enjoying what we have here. Agricultural classes. Maybe they can learn to, do what actually attracts people to this area. So
Thank you.
if they can do that online, all the better.
Matt?
I'll just add, I think face-to-face learning is a priority to me, but does TCAPS need to venture into creating a large online program? I don't know. I think it, perhaps there's already a better mousetrap that has been built, and other school districts doing that. And so while it can be an option, I think I'm more focused on face-to-face learning.
Erica?
I think TCAPS has a pretty good online learning resources. I know before the pandemic, we rolled out a ton of online classes and opportunities and offerings to different kids. I truly believe every kid learns different. And like you said, Holly, some prefer to learn online and some prefer to learn live. And so I value that we have both of those options. I don't know that we need to expand it. I think we have a pretty robust online program. We did get rid of our online live because we didn't have the population to support live online teaching after the pandemic sort of subsided. So, but our online program is robust. So,
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, in full disclosure, I told Dr. Van Wagner that I was ignorant, fully new to some of this, TCAPS. And I asked him how well they did with online and not being present in the classroom. And he said that they found, for the most part, that the students were stagnant that year. He didn't feel that they went backwards, but they were stagnant. The national NAEP, long-term assessment done nationally, says we dropped points across the whole United States. May I make just one more point? And that is, kids change how they learn. I did excellent with pathophysiology as a graduate student. I couldn't have done that when I was younger. There's discipline and attention that you have to build those skills.
Thank you, Beth. All right, it is getting late in the evening, and we do have a time limit, so I'm sorry I have all these other questions I could ask you, but we did get through 11. My goal was 14, but we did get through 11. We will go to our closing statements. You all get a whole minute now, so I'll make Beth happier, right? And all of you. Anyway, a minute to give your closing statement, and we will go reverse alphabetical order on this. So, Justin, we start with you.
So as I said earlier, I am a father, I'm a coach. I've worked in churches, YMCAs, providing leadership training to teenagers, camps. I was a paraprofessional working many different jobs at a middle school. So I have background when it comes to working with kids and being able to help create a foundation for them to be able to move forward. As I mentioned also before, that TCAPS has got a lot of treasures. Their staff is that number one treasure. I encourage the district and the TCEA to sit down and create a plan together to recruit teachers, and then a second plan to keep them here. Right now, we have 48% of our teachers are only here for about 10 years, and that drops about 20% after 10 years. We need to be able to figure out how to keep our teachers here and working with our students because we have excellent, excellent teachers.
Thank you. Nick.
Hey, thank you for hosting this meeting. I think it's very important. Being a father of two young boys, being in education, I see the value in education. I get disheartened that sometimes my youngest says he hates school. And so we have to figure out, why is that? And that gets to students learn differently. Kids are different. We all want the best for our kids. We all want the best for our schools. I think that starts with supporting our teachers and supporting our support staff, right down to bus drivers, which the district still needs. I think we need to take a hard look at our budgets and find out how we can make sure that everyone's supported. And sometimes it's not budget. Sometimes it's just making sure that teachers know that the board has their backs when it comes to difficult situations and difficult conversations. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Andrew?
So I think it's very clear that all of us care deeply about our community and our school district. So I applaud all the candidates for stepping up to fill these critically important board seats. I am proud of how the current board has handled ourselves and supported our students and staff, and I'm even more proud of the strategic plan and how that plan was developed with significant community input and staff and parent input. The plan was designed to guide the district's direction over the next 3 years, and I believe that if it's followed, it will do just that. There are 4 seats up for election, and only 2 of us current members are running, so there are going to be new board members, and possibly even a majority of the board will be new. I would be honored to continue to serve and build on the positive momentum that the district has generated, especially over the last 8 to 10 months. As I stated earlier, these are very important seats, and we need leaders at the board table who come without agenda, who are approachable and listen to all sides, and who make decisions for the best outcomes for our students and staffs. I believe that I've done that in a professional, level-headed way, and I would be honored to continue to do that for the next term.
Thank you. Beth?
I'd like to introduce myself, which I didn't do at the beginning. And I am a nurse, 16 years, critical care, cardiology. Concurrently, I was also a full-time teacher, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill as a clinical instructor. I worked with a lot of diverse kids. We had a lot of very serious diversity at Chapel Hill, and I was on the admissions committee and part of the selection of some of those kids. Before that, I was a health planner, health educator, and I did the quality assurance plan for the largest Medicaid HMO in the country. And before that, I didn't get my white hair in a vacuum. Before that, I was a hospital librarian, set up 2 hospital libraries downtown Detroit. In closing, there's no such thing as a self-made man or woman who's ever lived. Everyone has been affected, changed, shaped, helped, hindered by other people. Almost everyone has had parents as their primary person. Almost after that, it's been teachers. That's a paraphrase from David McCullough. Thank you.
Erica?
Yeah, so thank you all for being here. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for putting this on. This is great. So my last 4 years has been, it's been a huge challenge. I don't know that, another 4 years board service of what I've been through, I could do it again. But I feel that there was so much, because of sidelined of COVID, there was so much work I didn't get to do with regards to teaching and learning and curriculum and helping TCAPS to become the best school that it can be. That's why I'm running again. So I'm really excited. Hopefully I'm elected to continue my service. Super excited about our strategic plan. This drives our district and all of our decisions. We have an awesome administrative team that's new, top of the line, really excited about that. Dr. Van Wagner started as a teacher, worked his way all the way up. His leadership is just, he's gonna take us great places. And we need to celebrate our teachers and staff. So I'm hoping I get reelected and would appreciate it.
Thank you. Matt?
That was really just where I was headed with this. I think with all the questions and all of us coming up here, we're all community members, and at the end of the day, I think we're going to be looking at Dr. Van Wagner to see what he does with the strategic plan. And part of the reason I ran was to try to hold him accountable and to see what action plans he makes and what decisions and ways he wants to lead the school. Because at the end of the day, without him leading the school, it's going to be hard to have his staff and teachers buy in. And I think that's really our main role up here, is to make sure he does that. So I want to thank you all for being here and having me.
Thank you. Holly?
Hi, thank you again for listening and also for having us, League of Women Voters. Just a little bit about myself, which some of you may not have gotten. I am an attorney, but I've spent actually most of my career working with children. I graduated from Michigan State and did postgraduate work in education. Also went to law school and started working for the Chicago Public Schools Board of Ed while in law school and continued afterwards, but felt like my calling was to have more contact with children, so I started working as a public guardian for abused and neglected children, meaning I was their attorney. And I've done that since then and continued here in Michigan. I've worked for Leelanau Schools, the Children's Garden, and then also as a sub in some of our TCAPS school. That was quite a bit ago. But I continue to do community programming around youth empowerment. And for that, the only thing I can say is that I consider children in my culture, we call them wakanage, which means they're sacred beings for us to take care of. And to me, that's what I bring to this board candidacy, is that I think a great education is the best way to do that.
Thank you. And thank you to all the candidates for coming this evening. And I believe that we have a wonderful selection of candidates to choose from, and you can't go wrong no matter which one you choose. And I'm saying that as a former board member, served 8 years on the TCAPS board. So let's give all the candidates a round of applause. Also, thanks to our live audience for attending. We appreciate it. Thanks also to those who tuned in on Channel 189 or Facebook. Special thanks to Matt Kern and his Traverse Area Community Media staff. We couldn't do these forums without their help. And thanks to all the league members who worked to make this forum a success. So there are evaluation forms for you to fill out because we love to have you do that because it helps us improve our forums. And if you need help learning about your ballot, please go to vote411.org, the online voter guide. Most importantly, remember to get out there and vote, either by absentee ballot or in person, on or before November 8th. Thank you.